Welcome to Mauritius, a tropical paradise island located 1,500 miles off the southeast coast of Africa, sporting magnificent landscapes, crystal clear waters, beautiful sandy white beaches. Every night, a golden and romantic sunset to take your breath away. The people are warm and their culture is to welcome. The cuisine is divine. It's no wonder that Mauritius is known as a luxurious honeymoon and tourist destination. But not a lot of people know Mauritius has a dark history. The island's story is not only of beauty, but of conquest. The Portuguese were the first Europeans to land here in the early 1500s, though they did not settle. The Dutch followed in 1638, beginning a cycle of occupation. They brought the first enslaved people from Madagascar before abandoning the island in 1710. Then, the French took possession in 1715, renaming Mauritius Île-de-France. Under them, the slave trade expanded on a massive scale. And in 1810, the British seized the island, and slavery continued until its abolition in 1835. Across 3 centuries, tens of thousands of men, women, and children were uprooted, enslaved, and forced to build the wealth of others. More than 300 years of slavery, and more than 300 years of occupation. With the order given to expand the empire, slave ships carried the first Indians, Africans, and Malagasy slaves towards their misfortune, transported across oceans in brutal conditions, chained, starved, diseased. Many slaves perished before even reaching land. For those who survived, they were brought to markets like Port Louis and sold at auctions, stripped of their names, stripped of their language and their kinship. They were branded with collar badges, symbolizing ownership and designation. They were harnessed like animals and treated inhumanely. Then they were transported to the sugarcane plantations. Plantation life was relentless, from sunrise to sunset. Enslaved people toiled in sugar fields in the grueling tropical heat, always under whip, always under watch. Evenings that brought little rest, as chores continued inside the plantation house. Food was scarce, and punishment was never far away. Families were torn apart, and humanity reduced to property. Yet defiance burned, and the dream of freedom remained strong. Some fled into the night, across forests and rivers, others by stolen boats along the Black River coast. They became known as the Maroons, fugitives who rejected bondage, a symbol of strength, freedom and defiance. Many of the Maroons found refuge at Morne, a towering mountain rising from the sea. Its cliffs and caves became their shelter, and its remoteness their shield. Life on Morne was harsh, but it was freedom. As the Maroons settled in order to survive, they needed to hunt, fish, and gather roots and fruits. They even raided some of the plantations to survive, becoming small communities in tiny villages, bonding over campfires and the roots of their music. the Maroons grew into a strong community, a resilient community, one that would not give up so easily. They lived in constant vigilance as soldiers and slave catchers climbed the mountain to smoke them out. This often led to lots of skirmishes. Lives were lost, yet the Maroons endured, led well by their famous Maroon leaders. They built communities of resistance high above the plantations below. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, in 1833, the British in Parliament passed the Slavery Abolition Act, ending slavery across the empire. In Mauritius, the law came into force in 1835. 67,000 enslaved people were freed. The soldiers were instructed to tell all of the slaves in Mauritius of this news, including those living on Le Morne. As the soldiers made their way to Le Morne, the Maroons saw the soldiers coming, and they misread their intentions as slave catchers. As the soldiers climbed the mountain to spread the news of freedom, there was a misinterpretation, a misunderstanding, and fearing re-enslavement, the Maroons ran up to the top of Le Morne. Considering their options, their denial to return to slavery and capture, they leapt from the cliffs, a final act of defiance, a final act of bravery, choosing death over chains. Whether legend or truth, the leap of death endures as a sacred memory of resistance, a memory of freedom. A memory of flight. Today, Le Morne stands as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. A monument to the enslaved who suffered, resisted, and dreamed of freedom. It is a place of mourning and of pride, where descendants honour their ancestors. Those who transformed oppression into defiance and tragedy into memory. Le Morne is not just a mountain, it's a beacon of resilience, a reminder that freedom was never given, it was fought for. Le Morne, the mournful, the birds, and the shadows of Le Morne.